Hey everybody, we'll just take a few minutes to get Winter Haven logged in. So it'll probably start around 11:05 or so.
Hey everyone, we're gonna give everybody a little bit to get started, so give us a few minutes. Can y'all hear me okay? Thumbs up or yes or no? Perfect, thank you, Sarah. All right, we'll get started shortly. About what's going on. Okay, guys, give us one more minute. We got a few people walking in our office, and then we'll get started.
Slackers.
Right?
How much?
Gotta be on time, right, Eric?
That's right.
All right. Y'all just want to go ahead and get rolling? I know we'll have a few people come in a little bit.
You can shut that door.
Please. Might help with the echo. All right. Hopefully we'll pick up here. All right. I hope everybody's ready to start off to an exciting April. So hard to believe we're already halfway through the month. So we do have some celebrations. So let's start off with our March closer. So we have, if you remember, for those newer agents or even anyone in here, if you close over 1 million, the team gives you a $150 gift card. So that's a great gift. So good job. So we have 2 March winners. We have Logan Bennett here in Winter Haven. 1.9 million. So congratulations. I know, he killed it. And then Hien closed 1 billion for March. So that has gift cards for you too. So everybody start working hard for the next month because y'all get a gift card as well. So
Unless you don't like money.
unless you want money, people are different, you know. All right. So far, year to date, our top producers with closed units, we have Pam Carter at 9, Logan Bennett at 7, and then we're tied with 5 closed units. We have David Sapita, he just walked in, Landy Grito from Ohio, and Studio McLean from Ohio. So good job, guys. And then year to date closed volume, we have Logan Bennett at 2.2 million, Pam at 1.8, and then we have tied for 3rd, Leah Barnes here, Winter Haven, Landy Brito, David, tied with 1.1 million. So great job, guys. So y'all killing it. Did want to welcome, I know maybe we have on here, and it's hard to tell if we have them or not, but we have for March, we've got 5 new agents that have joined. We've got Garrett Lowenberg, Christopher Hall, Justin Smith, Ben Bowie, and Joe Dubinski. I know I probably didn't say that right, and I apologize, Joe. So congratulations to you guys. Glad to have you on the team, and we look forward to working with y'all. A couple things I wanted to kind of go over, and I know I sound like a broken record, but new deal template. So everyone online, everybody, I need y'all to really start paying attention. Make sure that is filled out to the T. Lender, title, agent, email, phone number. I mean, if we are having to go search it, poor Kim, she's all over the place trying to find the information. It just delays the whole process. And you know, we just don't need that. So again, if we have to go chase it down, if you don't put it in correctly, team leads have told me, sorry, nobody gets paid. And we really want y'all to get paid at closing. So please, please, please take your time filling out that form. Take your time looking at the sales price of the home, at the percentage of the home. I mean, there is 3 or 4 of us that look off that new deal template, and if it's incorrect, it just ricochets to all of us. So really, just as a reminder of how important that new deal template is. So, and that's basically all I've had. We'll start with our team leads. I know Matt has things, and Sam and Angel.
Well, I just want to piggyback on that. I know we've talked about this 5 million times, but it's going to be a hard line in the sand moving forward. Kim emails you, if you don't reply, don't come crying because you ain't getting paid. Not my problem. Alicia is heading that up. There is no doing one for somebody and not the other. It's a hard line in the sand across the board for everybody. We've spent way too much time chasing stuff down and having meetings every week about it. So essentially, we're sick and tired of it. I hate to sound negative, but we're over it. So if you don't turn your paperwork in, don't plan on getting paid. You might not get paid for 2 weeks after the closing. But again, I'm not trying to sound rude, but I don't care. I'm over dealing with all the nonsense of chasing people down. She spends all her time on it. Haley's spending time on it. Me, Sam, and Angel spending time on it. We're done with it. Either you turn your paperwork in or you don't get paid, and I can really care less. That's where I'm at on that. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yes.
Number two, there will be some changes in verbiage on the contracts. I don't have the exact verbiage yet. So we will do a special training when I get it. Essentially, this office had some E&O issues where they had to pay out $5,000 in E&O last month for verbiage on the contract. Now, it didn't have anything to do with our team specifically, but they want to make sure that everybody in this office, which will relay to obviously Orlando, Ohio, and Texas is going to be different anyway, but there's specific verbiage that we are now paying a real estate attorney to type for us, and it's going to be a copy and paste across the board so that everybody is compliant and everyone's consistent, so that there's no more E&O insurance claims in this office, and that'll just help the Orlando teams as well.
It should help Texas and Ohio too, because verbiage is verbiage on addendums for some of this stuff.
So I don't know exactly what it entailed, but all I know is it costs the office 5 Gs, and obviously they don't want to be paying more money out for someone typing a contract incorrectly, where it was essentially came down to the brokerage's fault. So they had to pay that claim, and they don't want to pay any more of those. So they're going to give us the verbiage to then do a training with you guys. Like I said, they haven't ever had an issue with our team, but they just wanted across the board where it's consistent for everybody. So we can literally go to that verbiage, copy it, and paste it right into the contract so it's easily accessible with black and white. So that's all I got for that.
Perfect. All right, we'll go back to the getting our DAs and stuff. I know our brokers, we have so long to put everything into command compliance, and some of this could be some of the reasons why.
48 hours.
We don't have it in there. We can get audited, and it's on the broker, and the agents can get fined. So when you template, it's getting uploaded right away into the database, so we don't have to worry about any fines ever. Now, you may say, well, I don't have the seller property disclosure, or I don't have the flood disclosures. If it's on the listing agent side, it's not on our fault. We can relay that to whoever audited it, and they're going to go after them on that, not us. So important, get all the documents into this new deal template, and it will cover everyone's butts at the end of the day. And the broker here at this time, if we don't have these in within the time frame, I know they said 48 hours. I think they're giving us like, 72 hours. They're not going to cut anyone a DA if it's not in there. If they're auditing and there are stuff, if we come in there, we have a listing that we put in 3 weeks later, right before closing, they're not getting those DAs out until everything is copacetic and they know for sure. They're not cutting checks to the title company. So let's make sure we're getting the listings on the new listing deal. The buyers don't let's wait to put them in until we know it's going to close, because they're going to hold up checks for you guys on that. And then if they get fined, they're probably going to relate, pass the fines down with it.
On that note, right, we understand that agents suck, right? Listing agents, I literally just dealt with this on a deal where it took me 3 weeks to get the flood disclosure. I asked for 30 times, right? We understand that if it's something holding up your paperwork that is a lead-based paint because the seller agent didn't sign it because they're retarded, or let's see, flood disclosure, seller property disclosure, right? Like whatever that may be, if it's on the listing agent, we understand that things are going to get screwed up. We can't help that, right? You're going to get an email from Hien, but before you even get that email, if you put in the notes, requested X, Y, and Z from listing agent, will send as soon as I get or whatever. We understand that that isn't going to necessarily hold you up because it's not your fault. So we're going to do everything we can to help you on a situation like that. What we're talking about on the DA situation is you guys not even putting in half the information. Like when it says commission, You don't even put it, it's just blank, right? And we have to go chase you down and find out what the commission is or whatever, right? Or forgetting to put that it's a Zillow referral lead. You don't even put that it's a Zillow. You put it's a self referral. Then we have to go back and find the lead in Zillow and figure out if Zillow got paid or not and all that. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about that's causing all these issues. And it's been happening for a long time now. Not gonna mention any names, but one agent in particular did that where they said it was just not a Zillow deal, and it was. And then we had to go back and cut a check to Zillow, right? That's the kind of stuff we can't have happen. So it's gonna be a hard line in the sand. Get it in immediately because the office is hounding us now for 48 hours. Within that deal gets done, if it's not in 48 hours, they're gonna be hounding us, wondering where it's at because of all these E&O issues and all these auditing issues. They're getting parked at. So that just goes down.
If you got a weird compensation, you can write it all in there, but then just put the total amount. Like there's some that we do get paid, percentages minus stuff, or if we get percentage on $100,000 or we get a higher percentage somewhere else, then just put the total amount that you're supposed to get. And then if it's the weird compensation, it's just not straight 3%, 2.5%, you can put the verbiage there, but then that matches your compensation, then just put the number there so we know exactly what you're talking about. It helps the office out.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, 48 hours is once you're fully executed.
Right.
If you're waiting on the flood disclosure, you're waiting on the seller property disclosure, those can happen within the inspection window. But if it's an addendum or a rider in section 19 and it's not executed, you don't have an executed contract. So you can push back on the other realtor and say, hey, we don't even have an executed contract. I need you to get me the correct document. There's no sense in letting the clock start ticking if you're not fully executed. A lot of realtors and agents will be lazy with the time frame, but guess who that ends up hurting when you exit, like your inspection period started 2 days ago, but technically you're not even executed. So unless it's the flood or seller property disclosure, you're not executed, you're not submitting the new deal until you have all of the proper documentation back from the listing agent or the other agent involved, and then you submit it.
So property disclosure or,
Flood disclosure.
no, the property disclosure or the waiver.
Or
I guess
waiver,
right.
correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we just had that situation too, where a listing agent said that the seller was refusing to do a seller property disclosure. So you're gonna have to get like a waiver saying that they're refusing to fill it out, which again,
And that's signed by the buyer. Not even, listing.
well, the buyer's acknowledging that they are purchasing a property, but the seller is refusing to disclose anything. But that's what inspections are for, really, right?
That's your guy.
The seller property disclosure, honestly, really the only two things on there that are kind of really showing you true facts about the house are about the roof age. Half the time, those idiots are wrong on that anyway. And then septic tank, right? If it's on the septic tank, where is it located? Outside of that, they can pretty much lie about everything else on there. So that's why we do the inspections. If you have a buyer, because we had this situation too, if you have a buyer that does not want to do an inspection, you are going to make that buyer sign an inspection waiver saying that they are refusing to do an inspection. And I would do that even for a termite inspection, right? No matter what inspection it is, if it's a termite, if it's a septic tank, or a full home inspection, make them sign a waiver because that is your CYA. Because we all know that if a problem occurs down the road, that buyer is going to say, oh, well, they never told me to get an inspection. So now guess who's going to be in the crosshairs from Freck and everybody else for not doing your professional licensed job?
So there's a hard line on all these in a waiver,
Correct.
especially if they're not doing an inspection, because that needs to be your catch-all.
Correct. So if they're refusing to do an inspection, hey, no big deal. That's your choice as the buyer. But just realize it is always the buyer's responsibility for all inspections of the home. If you don't want to do it, I just need you to sign this waiver here stating that you're bypassing this type of inspection, whatever it may be, whether it be a septic, termite, a well, or a full home inspection. Yeah, pool, whatever that is. They technically, on the full home inspection, they will look at the pool pump, but they're not going to inspect the pool. I would still recommend to inspect the pool because if you have a leak, the only way to know that is to do a leak test. But definitely full home inspection, termite, septic. Pool, it's up to you, but I would always CYA.
So to reiterate, I was just trying to go over this documents. So, when we're trying to submit documentation in the first 48 hours, but of course, you don't get the documents back that you want to submit the new deal template, because in a perfect world, we want everything, like you said, but in the real life, we don't get everything. So day one, I'm waiting. Day two, I'm waiting. I'm going to day three. I'm still waiting. So to be 100% correct, a signed, executed purchase agreement means the deal's done, even if you're missing all the other documents.
Well, it depends on what the documents are. So
I'm talking on the other side. So I'm a buyer's agent. I'm sending it to a listing agent. The listing agent, I send them all these documents and they just send me back the purchase agreement.
so you're not
Signed.
executed.
But they didn't send me the other documents. So where does that leave us? Because they started trying to do the clock.
They can't.
Well, they can't, because if you, let's say, for instance, it's a VA deal and they're missing the FHA VA rider, right? You're not executed. If you don't have that document signed by all parties, you're technically not executed.
Okay.
If it's the GG rider,
The GG, the FF, anything you're checking in section 19, if you don't have it executed as well, you have an incomplete contract.
lead-based paint technically, like even if the agent doesn't sign it, which happens a lot,
You are not executed.
technically you're not executed.
Okay, that's a good rule because you have to actually check an FHA. You have to
If
check.
it's,
Yeah.
if it's a
That's actually
checkbox on the contract, you're not, and it's missing, you're not executed. Now,
And those documents.
the caveat to that would be flood disclosure, because that's not part of it yet. I'm sure it will be soon.
Flood and
Seller property disclosure. Those never get turned in time. I know 99% of the time it's the other agent's fault because I deal with it myself, right? Like I said, took me 3 weeks to get it. She sent it back blank. So then I had to tell her to resend it because she sent me the wrong one. So I got it 3 days before closing on a 30-day close. So I know that we deal with this stuff. As long as you're putting the notes in the system to where Alicia and Kim know that, let Kim's going to have the email of that agent. Let her harass that agent and not you.
She will.
Yeah, she goes.
She will.
No, because
You gotta
I
act like a social
I
worker.
had a situation where the agent, we won't name the agent, but she didn't send me the FHA for a week and a half.
Well, you weren't executed.
So you're saying technically we were not truly executed.
You're not.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They still have, if they don't send you the flood disclosure within 3 days of executed contract, you can cancel the contract as the buyer.
Just like your compensation agreement, if you're using the GG rider, if that compensation agreement isn't executed within 3 days of the initial contract, you don't have a fully executed contract. So those systems are in place to protect you.
Correct.
So you're never submitting the new deal. You're just gonna keep going back to that listing agent and saying, hey, I'm ready to get under contract. I need all of my help.
Yeah, she says, well, where's the escrow? Well, we're not under contract, so I haven't made my buyers pay escrow yet. Because you didn't send me
We're
the
waiting
form.
on you.
Reject, right? Like, it's cut and dry.
It's black and white.
Yeah. Eric, you got a question there?
Not a question. I was just reiterating that it's the same in Texas, right? So we have the same box in a similar fashion for our contracts. If it's part of the contract, it's not checked, we're not executed. So just want to reiterate that. That's very, very much across the board here in Texas as well. So
It's black and white.
How much-
They could change that.
Yeah.
And they send it back, your buyers may be like, well, no, I wanted $500 on my, appraisal to be repaired, right? They break zero, you don't agree to what they change.
Well, that simplifies it. I'm glad the simplification is the checks on the purchase.
Yes.
order.
Yeah.
That would,
In that addenda
that's a
section,
great way to remember. because
any
the
one
other
of
items-
those that's a checkbox, if it's missing from the contract, you're not truly executing. Right. And like Caitlin's point, the GG writer, you're specifically saying in that GG writer that this offer is contingent upon me getting paid. If I'm not getting paid because you're refusing to sign my comp agreement as to what we agreed on, this contract is null and void.
Well, no, when it comes to GG, I'm always on top. of
Which,
that.
caveat, if you guys tell me about compensation, I always tell you on your next deal, you need to have that right. Because listing agents and sellers don't want to sign two documents related to
Yeah.
getting paid. Use the FF writer and avoid that whole conversation.
I'm sorry. I always use the GG. So the FF though is a credit rather than,
So the FF is one document replacing two. And it's basically saying the seller is going to give the buyer credit for your documentation and the seller is responsible for any of that. So it's turning your compensation next to a document in the contract. And it eliminates having to do additional documents.
So the GG is if there's a change.
Well,
GG is if, say the listing agent is 6 months in a compensation agreement.
Oh.
Because they say, I don't want to use that back or whatever. The GG record says, this offer is contingent, on this compensation agreement being signed within 3 days.
second, you're saying, when you said the compensation, you're talking about the broker compensation.
so, and see, that's where
That's the
the,
documentation you're talking about, if that's not done.
We want your offer contingent on you getting paid. So that's what the GG writer says, is hey, these 3 days to hash out how we're gonna get paid for this offer is off the table. So some listing agents want to use that compensation agreement. Some of them already have one and they may send it to you, or they may say, hey, I'll get that to you. But unless it's executed, you're using that GG writer every time. Submit an offer, but it's not black and white contingent on you getting paid.
which is what most agents,
Always.
well, it depends on the agent. A lot of agents don't want to use it, and especially how they have their listing agreement. If it's broker to broker, that's fine. If it's seller to buyer's broker, sometimes that causes confusion, so then they want to use the GP because now they want to see the comp agreement coming from seller to. So there's some confusions behind that where some agents don't understand it, or maybe the way that they're doing the listing. But
Usually the listing, so now that the FF writers can use more, I've had a lot more success with our agents because then it's not fighting again. Well, we signed the GG, they don't want to sign the comp agreement. Well, I need both sides. So I would say shoot that provides the documents, and then if they go push back and say no, then go to the
So wait a minute, are you saying if they sign the FF, then we don't need the broker compensation?
Correct.
yes, the FF overrides the GG and the comp agreement. But some listing agents don't understand how the listing report is, so they want to see both. So it's gonna really depend on the listing and how savvy they are on knowing.
Okay, Caitlin, while you're kind of talking, just say a quick word and we'll.
I just want to welcome all of the March agents again, and remind you that our Wednesday meetings are mandatory for all of you folks until you've done at least 3 deals with us, and have been to at least 4 of those training meetings, because there's a lot of fortify specific training we do, but then overall real estate topics that we discuss. So please make sure Wednesdays at 10 are a priority, and as you guys know, those are open to anyone who wants to participate. We usually have really good discussion there. And then next week also, we're doing a pop-up training on working with follow-up boss and room trade clients in there. So I think it's gonna be Thursday.
Invites were sent out.
Invites
Yes.
were sent out.
Yep.
So check your email, accept yes. That's all I got for us.
Awesome. Very good. All right, Miss Haley.
I don't have much. I just want to give a shout out to Chevy and Logan. Y'all's videos are awesome. I love them. Great quality, and good content for us to share. We do really well. So keep that up. And then if anybody has any questions or needs me for anything, social media wise, just call me. I'm happy to help.
Yep. And just before we take it back to Angel, I did want to, with her saying that communication again is the key. If y'all don't email us, or honestly, if we email y'all and you do not respond, I'm just thinking, okay, you never got my message because nobody's even saying working on it, anything. So just let us know on anything. Keep the communication flow. I know Tim and I were Friday night. We were back and forth. Thursday night, whatever night that was. So, but it's communication. I'd rather you over communicate than under communicate. So thank you for that. And that's a reminder for everyone. So, all right, Mr. Angel.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me okay?
Gotcha.
All right. So for me, my topic today is talking about accountability, as I've been talking about every Monday with you guys. I want to kind of go back to when we all started as agents. We got into this field to be successful, right? We got into real estate to sell properties, help families move into homes, and obviously make money at the end of the day, right? That's what it's all centered around. And so when you guys joined the team collectively, we all said, hey, we're going to start this. We're going to work towards common good and those goals and everything like that. And also you are allowing us, by starting with the team, to hold you guys accountable. Okay. So not going to sit here and call out agents or anything like that, but there are some agents that are not where they should be, where their goals are for the year, right? So if somebody's goals are 12 for the year, they're looking at one deal a month. Some of those folks are off. And so what we're going to start doing is implementing action plans for some of those that are not where they should be. Okay, so you should be getting an email today. If you are on an action plan, it is not an I got you, it is let me help you. And so some of that is going to be, we're going to hold you accountable to coming to all the meetings, right? So we have meetings, not just to have meetings, right? I don't need to sit here on Mondays and talk to agents about accountability. I don't need to be on Zillow to talk about best practices. These are tools for you guys to get better at your craft and ultimately build the best business possible, right? So we're going to hold you accountable to being on the meetings. We're going to be restricting some lead flow, right? So we have some agents that have had, let's just say 80 Zillow leads and no conversions out of that. Or, maybe 3 weeks goes by and you've got maybe 20 leads and no showing. So that may be a training opportunity for you. So you're going to be getting that accountability letter today from Alicia. Again, if you have questions about why or whatever, it's not about, and I got you, again, it's to help you at the end of the day. But we're going to make you successful, right? At the end of the day. So that's our goal. But some of that's just showing up and being a part of the group, being a part of the trainings, doing what you're supposed to do, answering the call, being receptive. I want to see the answer rate, improve and everything like that. We have a new agent here that was with us. Her name's Anna. She could wave. And I was telling her, like, we have typically 300 leads a month from Zillow, and yet we still miss about 100 leads a month that are just sitting there that are opportunities for us. So I want us to have this big, robust business and take over market share. But it takes everyone, right? We all have to be pulling in the right direction. So if we have 50 agents, only 25 are pulling, we can't get to our destination. So we need all 50 agents or all 65 or whatever our number is anymore, pulling in the right direction. So be on the lookout for those. Those be effective immediately, and you'll be starting on those trainings ASAP. And they're trainings. They're not at this time just to drag it out and just bore you to death. Like, this is stuff that's important that will help you. So be on the lookout for that. And I think, keep me honest, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Title.
Oh, yes, sorry. So title updates. So as you guys know, we talked about it a little bit last week. So for those of you that are in Florida, we're going to be launching a new title company soon. The title company is going to be called Lakeshore Title. If you have listings currently, they're going to be sent over to Digital Title Solutions, which is based out of Tampa. Don't worry, your sellers don't have to go to Tampa to sign. We will have a mobile notary come to you. But that will be temporary. So that's just a temporary fix until the business launches, I think hopefully May-ish.
And that
For the other-
that mobile notary will not during that time. So don't let
Say that again? We didn't catch that. Can you say that again, Matt?
I said for that mobile notary, I don't want out there in Tampa, they're gonna charge the mobile notary fee. We're not gonna hit them fees. For that. Service.
Yes, exactly. So it's not going to be an inconvenience for you at all. So we'll be using our local locations to have them signed. So it should be even more convenient for everybody. Now, for you guys that are in Cleveland and Dallas, those team leaders are working on title companies for them individually so we can have the best company or best practices for you guys. So your team leader should be rolling that out to you hopefully soon. They've been interviewing different title companies. Want to make sure it's a good fit. So number one, customer service and being right there for the client, walking them through the process, communication, all those good things that go with it. So they'll be rolling that out to you guys. But we're excited about it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to control the process, right? So we're a little bit of control freaks. And that will help to hopefully increase conversions, right? So if we can control the process, that means we can control the communication with the other side of the transaction, which is usually the fall through, right? So if we're on the listing side, it's usually the buyer's agent that's dropping the ball, or it's the lender, or it's some other variable that we can't control. But as the title company, we can have a lot more vision and visibility on what exactly is going on in the process. So we can hopefully get ahead of some issues like tax transcripts or lien searches or, all the other 1,000 reasons deals blow up. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say Texas. We have I think I'm echoing on your side.
But Angel, can you mute your?
I'm gonna go ahead and you can read it for me. Thank you.
But what I was going to say is, since we're all getting new title companies, and I'm a big advocate of using the one that I like. We've had some wins over here in Texas, especially on the buy side. I know that it's always like the situation where the seller wants to pick title, and if you don't pick that title, they want you to pay for the title policy. We've had some huge wins in actually picking our own title on the buy side, because who's ultimately left with the title insurance once the house closes? The buyer. So the big piece and big push we've been doing on that, we've been very successful saying, hey, because of that situation, I'm a good steward of my client. I have the privilege and also the fiduciary duty to my client. They are ultimately going to be having that insurance when it closes. So I want to pick my title. You're still going to pay the title policy, but it ultimately falls on them to have that title insurance. So there's obviously different verbiages on that you can have, but we've had a lot of wins of picking our title, especially if it's not a multiple offer situation. What other offer do you have? You're going to truly back and forth with me on title, because 9 times out of 10, who's picking title? It's the agent. It's not the seller. The seller doesn't know title 9 times out of 10. So I encourage you guys to do that. Dictate the title, push on the title so that it's more convenient for you and your clients. But just want to point that out. We've actually had a really good wins on that and pushing our own title from the buy side, especially if it's not multiple offers. That's all I got.
Cielo, you got your hand up?
I do. Hey, Eric, I like what you're saying, because I always try to do that with my buyers. But I have very cantankerous sellers who are very much like, I just had a nice purchase of $300,000. I know not a lot for you guys in Florida, but in Cleveland, it's pretty good. But like, it's hard to do that sometimes. Like, the agent was like very persnickety about it. And at the end of the day, I was like, I'm not going to let this deal go just because, it's one of those negotiating things. So can you tell me a little bit more about like how do you protect your client?
Well, you're not booking a deal for title, right? Like, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and like scoff, but we put it on there, and we put it on the contract. We put who we want as title, regardless if it's in there in the MLS. But again, I push back on that until I can, right? But It's just been successful when you try to educate. Because I think the biggest thing is we're going up against crappy realtors, and they think they're getting a benefit taking the title. They're not. Maybe it is in-house, so yeah, maybe they're getting pushed back from their broker. But ultimately, what other offers do you have? That's what I thought to them. Like, are you guys really going to go back and forth on me on title? I'm giving you an offer. I'm giving you something like that, and then again, you got to feel the agent out. I think it's case by case. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but it's leverage for you to choose your title, because what other options do you have? And going back to the piece where when it closes, ultimately the title insurance is for your buyer. It's not for your seller, right?
I think, no, I agree with you on that. I'm not disagreeing, but you have a lot of people, a lot of agents have their own ABAs, so they push their title companies very strongly. And I have found it that it's hard for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I could be very argumentative, ask my team, but on a situation like this, I have a hard time pushing back. So I guess that's where I need some help on that, because I'm not going to say what other offers you're going to have. I don't want to piss them off. I want to have a really smooth relationship with the transaction. So I like what you're saying. I like what you said. It's like, hey, my buyer's the one that's going to be stuck with it. Not stuck, but just kind of, yeah.
And they have to present the offer. So that's the other side, is like, if they're truly presenting the offer and then giving you kickback before they even present the offer, I would flat out tell them, like, well, again, this is what my buyer's asking for. You can present it to your client. Are they really going to blow up this deal because if they want to choose your title over mine? I can connect you with the title company. You know what I mean? So again, there's different ways, and I know there's more stuff to be said on this meeting, but I can get with you offline and kind of hash that out with you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to find a way that it's not so confrontational. That's all. Because that's the hard part, but I'm fine. We can take it offline and I can figure it out. That's not, I just kind of.
On a side note to that, CLO, if it's a multiple offer situation, a lot of times if you pick title and just let the buyer pay the title policy, it's a good way to win the deal too, and not make the seller pay for it. Let your buyer pay for it, and they may get a discount anyway if you have a good relationship with that title company.
Yes, and again, I'm going back to the ABAs that a lot of agents have with title companies, and they get a lot of kickbacks. I don't have an ABA because I like whatever, but that's something that I encounter a lot. And trust me, I push it, but I also make sure that I close the deal, and my relationship's always with that other agent, buyer, seller, and so I try to work around it, and if they push, but it's hard sometimes, they just get stuck on it. And like, I was bummed out because I love my title company that I use. They're very good at everything. And this agent's like, do you have an ABA? I'm like, no. And like, well, I get my extra whatever, but I'm like, all right, no problem. I gave up very easily. So now I'm like, damn, I wish I hadn't, but I don't know how to push back without. I need a valid argument. That's what I'm saying.
We can do a training on that.
Yeah. Because I mean, it could be tough out here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dana, I know you had to go pick up lunch. Did you have something you wanted to go over? We're kind of sitting around.
I mean, not really, unless everybody, as long as everybody's good there, like we've been speaking. Does anybody have any trouble with real-time scoring coming through on follow-up logs? Is everybody, you've been getting more on that?
I've never had
You haven't done
an
it?
issue so far.
Okay.
It seems, I'm still seeing them coming in as phone calls.
Okay.
I know that they said that they were gonna be,
April 1st, yeah.
April 1st was like a hard, yeah. I just had a phone call this morning on my way
Okay.
here,
So
but
it's doable. It's doable.
I've only had phone calls only. I don't think I've had a text message yet.
Okay.
So that's something we can get the Zillow on. They said that April 1st was supposed to go 100% text message.
Yeah.
I've only had phone call. I don't know.
It started off a little bit, people were getting them, and then it just, so I didn't know how it was going, so.
I'm sorry, what are you referencing? Are you talking from Zillow?
The real-time scoring.
Real time.
Oh, I'm getting a bunch of those.
Yeah, but are they coming in as a text
Yeah,
or
they're
phone
coming in
call?
as a text. It says you have
Okay.
2 minutes to respond.
Yeah.
Well,
So is that replaced by phone call?
it's supposed to, because it's more, think about it more streamlined, right? Like if your phone's ringing, you may be on the other line, or you're in the shower, or you're in the grocery store, you're at your kid's ball game, or you're with a client showing, you can't answer your phone. But if they send it in a text, you can click on it and respond through a text. That's the whole reason they were transitioning to this, to make it where we have more opportunities to actually seize those leads. Because we were giving up about 100 a month. I haven't seen any text messages come through yet, but maybe they're doing it.
That's because you're not, you're not on the top.
Yeah, maybe. And
You're
that's,
on the top, you're kind of-
so who knows? Maybe I'm getting the bottom of the barrel. I wish I didn't have to answer any of them, but yet here we are. So again, back to Angel's deal on the accountability. As a team lead, it is our responsibility to help you guys reach your goals. Now we have team minimums, right? Which is 12 a year. If you guys at a full-time capacity can't do one deal a month with the amount of leads we're getting, there's a huge disconnect somewhere and we've got to find it. But we cannot allow one, two, or a few people to essentially affect other people's paychecks on the team that are doing their due diligence to convert leads, because one person not converting affects the other 50 people, right? So we have to be fair to everybody, and we're not doing it like Angel said as a got you or an like point in your face like, ah, you suck, right? It's not that. It's how can we help you to get better, right? And raise the bar to where you're making enough money to have a decent living, because that's what you're doing this for in the first place, and holding us accountable to getting you to that level, but also holding you accountable because you're affecting 50 other people around you, right? So we have to be fair across the board with that. And if you're on the action plan, you have to meet every single meeting requirement. This is going to teach you to time block. If you can't time block your day, then that's disconnect number one, that we're going to figure it out, right? So you're going to need to attend every single meeting. It will be attendance based, and unless you'll be giving attendance. If you miss a meeting, you better have a daggum good excuse as to why you didn't make it, right? So at the end of the day, we're here to help you, but we can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped, right? That's all I can say about that. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, I'd like to simplify things. So what are you trying to say that if an agent is not performing, not converting, there's an issue? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, and you will be on a 30-day action plan. So we're going to give you 30 days where we're helping to coach you get to being at a sustainable level. If in 30 days you can't do it with our guidance helping you along the way, then maybe this isn't the career path for you, and maybe we need to part ways.
And it ain't you, Dave. You're an overachiever, dude.
Yeah. So again, it's nothing that is we're not trying to say that you suck at what you're doing.
Right.
What we're trying to say is that we've identified a disconnect somewhere in your business, and we're going to try to help you. That's the whole reason you're on a team in the first place, right? Or if we can't help you because maybe you don't want to be helped, then why are you even here, right? Because your actions affect 50 other people in a negative way. So that's what we're going to try to help with.
And look at it as a great opportunity, because most agents who aren't producing what they want to produce, they hire coaches, they hire all of the elements that you get as being on the team to hold them accountable, to teach them how to time block, to do those weekly check-ins. And you get that as being a team member plus the lead. So it's a great opportunity if you guys will utilize it, because we want you to succeed. You just don't want our lead incoming numbers to be hurt because some agents don't want to work.
Well, on top of that too, right? Like, I know that some of the leads suck, right? it is what it is. But that's why it's called a lead, right? You might not convert all of them, but at the end of the day, if you're not converting any, there's a disconnect somewhere. Sam, 30 days ago, started taking real-time touring leads because we were missing 100 of them. He's pending 10 deals in 30 days, right? So for the mindset of, oh, well, it's because my leads suck. Well, some of the leads may suck, but how in 30 days does this guy have 10 pending deals and you have none, right? And again, it's not saying, I'm not trying to beat you up. It's a fact that there's a disconnect somewhere. You left corporate America to own your own business for a reason. We want to help you be successful and stay owning your own business and not go back to corporate America. But if you ain't making no money, then that's when you're going to have to go take that job, right? So we want to keep you guys on the team. We want you to be successful. That's what we're here for. But we can't help people that don't want to be helped. That's all I can say. Alberto, you got your hand up?
Yes, I do have a question. By statistics, how many leads should I have to convert, right? Because like you said, there's a lot of leads, right? There's hot leads or leads that's gonna buy in 3 months. That's depend on you if you follow up. The leads that I'm not gonna buy at all. So by statistics, how many leads should I get in your experience as the team to convert one of them? So it's 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20. How does that work?
So everyone has a different skill level, right? Some people can convert, they can get 5 leads and can convert 2. Or maybe those 5 that came through weren't any good and it just panned out that they got 5 bad leads, right? I'm not saying that every lead is good. So that's a hard question to answer. But what I can tell you is that if you're a new agent, after 3 months, we can start dissecting your business and tell you exactly where you're at in your current conversion rate and how we can help you to get better at it if you are willing to take the opportunity to do it, right? So I can sit down with an agent and look at their book of business and tell them how many leads they need, how many phone calls they need to make, how many appointments they need to set, how many agents or clients they need to meet with to get this many closings. But I can't do that unless I have the actual data in front of me. And the only way to do that is to see it raw for about 3 months and see where you're at. But if your level of conversion is lower, then again, that's where we can dissect. There's a disconnect somewhere. Let's figure out where the disconnect is and fix it so that you're converting at a higher rate.
Sam, what's the baseline Zillow?
They want you converting 4%.
Yeah,
So 4% is low.
very low.
So if you,
That's gonna be my question because let's say in the car business, a good conversion is 20%, average conversion is 14%. On the Zillows, what is the conversion? Good, average, bad, right? Bad is like 0. Because I'm getting a lot of Zillow leads, right? Well, not a lot. I had like 30 leads since I started. Out of those 30 leads, probably 5 of them are ready buyers. So they taking 30, 60 days to make a decision. Some of them are coming from different states. So it takes time to close them. They're probably going to close, but it's not going to close in 30 days. So
That's why they do it.
5%, it looks like reasonable to me for the quality leads I'm getting from the Zillow.
But out of 30 leads, if you've got 5 viable buyers, that's a 16% conversion rate. So that's a good conversion, right? And again, just because it's a 60-day buyer, you need buyers in 60 days, just like you need buyers tomorrow, right? So that's when you start building your pipeline and creating the snowball, right? So you can build the snowball up and get your pipeline going so that you're throwing leads in the buckets, right? So you have a ready, willing, and able buyer today bucket. You have a 3-month bucket. You got a 6-month bucket, 9, 12, so on and so forth. So you're just building up those pipelines. Every week, you need to go into your business and dissect your exact business that you have right there and pick the one person that you feel is the ready, willing, and able buyer this week that I can make a commitment to, that they're going to be my top priority. And over the next 7 days, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get in front of those people and get them under contract in the next 7 days. If you start looking at your business that way and doing it on a weekly basis where you pick, I call it a hit list. Who's the person I'm going to hit this week? It's this person. The next 7 days, they are my main focus, my main priority. That doesn't mean that I'm not answering the phone or replying back to other people. But if they want to see a house today, I'm putting them as my top prospect and I'm showing them a house today because I'm getting them under contract this week. If you start doing that, I promise you, your business will pick up. That's the way I did my business. And again, I'm not trying to brag or point fingers, but I was able to close 70 deals in a year on my own with no help, no transaction coordinator, no nothing, because I knew how to time block. I knew how to become efficient and how to dissect my business and attack it on a weekly basis. If you do that, I promise you, you will be successful. Right? Pam's a great example. Pam's been doing this 1 year. I told her that's how I did my business. She's been doing her business that way. So let's let her talk for a minute. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a great example.
We also have Hien just joined us, so we'll get with her. We'll be with you in just a moment, okay?
But I do want to say something, because you have a specific question. Alberta, your question was, how many leads does it take to convert? So you're asking for some examples. You know, usually within 6 leads, I'm already working on an offer. Within 1 to 10, definitely out of 10 leads, one of those.
That's a 10% conversion.
One of those are getting signed up, and sometimes I do even better, but minimum, you know, if you got 30 leads, I would have 3 of them already on the table.
We said he's got 5 potential buyers.
But he's not talking pen to paper. So what I would also suggest is that, you know, you have to like look at the people you're working with, and the ones that have potential and are willing to get a pre-qualification letter, the ones that are serious, you have to focus on so you can actually get the paper, and don't like waste time with 30 people. You want to zero in on the people that are going to turn into deals. I mean, you know, that's the way I do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So if anybody has any other questions, we don't want to hold up time too long. Any final questions anybody has before we get going with the guest speaker? Okay.
All right, Ms. Hien, we'll let you take over.
Yeah. Anybody here?
You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Angel. You're behind the screen?
Yes, he's waving at you back there.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just jump into the slideshow, yeah?
Yes, go ahead. We're gonna let you
Okay.
in charge.
I'm waiting for this to load real quick.
So while she's getting it uploaded, I'll just give her a proper introduction. So Hien is actually a short sale negotiator and an expert. She's been doing this since about 2008. She's very good at what she does. And she is going to be, and she's going to talk about how she does and what she does exactly. But I think this is important because I feel like at this time in our current market, we had prices go really high over the last few years. And a lot of clients you're going to find, and you're probably seeing, they don't have a lot of room to sell, right? The margins are super thin. You know, one concession to a buyer can turn into a short sale, right? So it's important that you have that extra layer of communication and a good partner. And that's what Hien's going to be for you. So if you have those clients, we've all seen them, right? They bought a house, 23, 24, they overpaid probably about, 10, 20, $30,000, sometimes even more. And they want to get out, they want to move, they don't like the neighborhood. Well, how can we help them? So this is going to be that extra way that we can help them. So what our job is to provide value and be that problem solver, right? Like, oh, hey, we can definitely help you. We can get you to where you need to be. And this is going to be another, tool in the tool belt, so to speak. So I will tell you a little bit more.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
And it's Hien. I'm sorry. It's Hien Win. Let me go to the next page. So a little bit about me. I've been working short sale since 2012 and owner of Florida Short Sale Solutions since 2015. I am also a licensed realtor, so I do know what you go through. So opportunities that most agents are missing. A lot of homeowners are struggling financially. Not all distressed sellers ask for help. Short sale situations are often overlooked, and this means leads it leads to missed listing opportunities. So I am your short sale resource. Just like you may have a insurance person, an inspector, a lawn person, a pest control person. So short sales, I'm your short sale resource. I work with agents to process and negotiate short sales. I have experience with lender approvals, and I also help agents get listings they may otherwise miss. What is a short sale? So a short sale is when the home is worth less than what is owed on the house. The seller cannot bring money to closing to cover that difference. The lender must approve accepting less than what was originally promised in that mortgage. Who's involved in a short sale? So the basics is the seller, which is the homeowner that's going through a hardship and they fell behind. Listing agent, you, the lender, which is the seller's bank, and me, the short sale processor, negotiator. Why short sales happen? Sometimes hardships happen in life, such as job loss, reduced income, divorce or separation, medical issues, rising expenses, and investments gone wrong. And I just don't want to apologize, my voice, kind of losing my voice since I've been training all morning. So I'm going to try to save my voice as much as I can. How to spot short sale opportunity. When you hear a homeowner say, I'm behind on payments, I can't afford this anymore, I owe more than it's worth, or I just want to get out. The key questions to ask the seller: are you current on your mortgage payments? Do you know how much you owe on the mortgage? Have you received any notices from your bank? Are you able to bring money to closing if needed to cover the difference? So you find out their situation. Are they working? What they're going through to have fallen behind on their mortgage payments. And then I dive deeper once I speak to the seller, find out about the other, if they have possible other mortgages or liens. Short sale process simplified. The seller has a hardship, the property is listed, offer is accepted, the file is then submitted to the seller's lender, and the lender reviews and approves the short sale. What I handle behind the scenes: I collect and review seller financials. I want to set them up so we have better results in the end, because the bank will be reviewing their financials. I prepare and submit a complete short sale package to the bank. I coordinate lender evaluation. Sometimes they will order a broker's price of opinion or an appraisal. I negotiate approval terms with the banks and the lien holders, and I manage ongoing follow-up and communication with all parties involved. Why most agents avoid short sales. It seems complicated. Dealing with lenders feels intimidating. It takes time, or the fear of not getting paid. And what this means for you. You get more listing opportunities. There's less competition. You help homeowners avoid foreclosure, and you build long-term referrals. Let's say you help a seller later when they're able to buy again, they probably will look for you. The biggest misconception is you need to understand everything. You need to negotiate with the bank, and you have to do it alone. But no, you don't. I am here for all of that. How I support you. I handle all lender communication. I manage and organize all required documents. I prepare, submit, and negotiate the short sale, and provide ongoing follow-up up until approval, up until closing, really. And what you handle as the agent. You list and market the property. You communicate with the buyers. You show the home, and you close the deal. Everything that you're already doing. Why partner with me? You don't need to learn everything. You can avoid costly mistakes. You'll have smoother transactions. You will look like the expert, and I'm here to make you look good. And you will have more confidence taking listings. So an example of a short sale, the seller owes $300,000 on their mortgage. The market value, the most that they can sell the home for, is $250,000. The seller is behind on payments and they don't know what to do. So I negotiate with the lender. I get the short sale approved. The seller avoids foreclosure, and you, the agent, gets paid. How we work together. You identify the opportunity. You connect me with the seller. We evaluate. I evaluate and guide both you, the listing agent, and the seller. I handle the process. You list and sell. When to call me. It's good to call before you list it so that we can prep for everything that's needed. When you hear the seller mentions hardship, when the numbers don't make sense, when you're unsure, even if you're unsure, it's worth a quick call. How I get paid. There's no upfront cost to you or the homeowner. The fee is paid at closing. Right now, the fee is $3,000 for a short sale negotiation fee paid by the buyer. And we say this up front so there's no surprises, but I will try to get the bank to pay it. But in case they don't, the buyer is the one that is, they're signing a disclosure that this is owed at closing. And everything is disclosed on the closing statement. So, do you have any questions?
I have some for you. I'm sure this will probably take a lot of the other agents' questions. So, number one would be, what actually triggers the short sale? So, is it, hey, they're behind 2 payments or 3 payments? Like, is there a timeline of events that happens before that short sale is triggered from a traditional standpoint or like a foreclosure standpoint?
Well, with the bank, let's say. Oh, I hear my echo.
Yeah, I think it's yeah.
Should I stop presenting it?
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So with all banks is different, but let's say they fall behind. Some banks will not even review them for a short sale if they're not a certain amount of days behind. But then you also try to figure out what the seller owes on the house, and then you run comps to see what it can sell for. And then when you see that it could be just borderline between a traditional and short sale, we can look into that, but it's possibly a short sale if it's that close because of closing costs and everything.
Okay, and then the next one is when listing the property, how do we price it? What's the best strategy? Do we price it at market value, or do we go what the bank owes and start and then work lower?
So what I'm seeing how it works better today is what you, the agent, believes the house can sell for at the most. So I would say market value. But we try to at least list it high enough to where it's not obvious that you're just trying to get any offer, because you have to prove to the bank that you're going to get the most that is possible if they're going to agree to approve a short sale.
Okay, and then what's the average time of sale once you have that contract? So what's that contract to close time look like? Is it 90 days, or are you seeing it like 120? How long is it taking?
Let's say the entire short sale package is in with the offer documents and everything. It's always depending on the bank, the servicer, but it could be usually over a month at least. But my job there is also to, if we could, keep any delays from happening and being on top of everything, then I'm going to continue to follow up with the bank to see if we can close sooner. But sometimes they have their guidelines and their process. So, and they have to order their appraisal and then from there counter or deny offer. So I could say it could be 2 to 3 months from submission of the entire short sale package with offer and everything.
Perfect. And then I have two more questions for you. Actually three. So one agent, or I should say Eric actually in Dallas wants to know, can you help from a national perspective? Can you do short sales in other states?
Yes, I actually looked into that, and I think overall it's kind of the same rules, but I recently looked into that, and something having to do with, as long as I'm working under the broker, like I'm not making lists, decisions like real estate decisions, which I'm not anyways, because I'm, doing the process, the short sale part, that I would have to be paid, I think, because now my fee is paid from the buyer and it's at closing. So I saw something that said I guess something like the buyer has to pay the broker, but then the broker has to pay me rather than me being paid through another party. But I think overall, it's pretty much the same.
Okay, very good. So if you could just let us know once you confirm that, that would be great. Okay. And then two last questions. Are there any banks that you work with that you're like, this is the worst one, like these are really challenging? And then the last question would be, can you give us some verbiage that we can put in the listing description that talks about your fee that we can put in the realtor remarks?
Okay. So the first question, okay, let me do this question first because I remember it. So MLS remarks, that's why I would also like to speak to you, the agent, before it's listed. I do suggest to put in the remarks, short sale, everything as is, short sale processing fee to be paid at closing by the buyer. And then I have the buyer disclosure fee attached on the MLS. I'll have the agent attach it on the MLS. So everything is there. And that would be required when I have a accepted offer. And what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Are there any banks that you should not avoid, but just be prepared that it's going to be a long, like terrible process? I mean, I've done lots of foreclosures in the past. I noticed that some banks are better than others. So just kind of curious what your experience has been like.
At this time, not really. It's more of if, for example, there's a lot of Mr. Coopers now, and then there's FHA loans. So it's not that the banks are, well, I guess it depends on the person too that's assigned to the file. But like they have their guidelines. For example, I'm just going to I'm seeing that Mr. Cooper FHA loans, the seller has an FHA loan. they are requiring that the listing agent list the house for at least 90 days, active 90 days. It can't, even if there's offers, they can accept it, but I mean, collect them, but not sign off on anything. So the bank wants to see that it's actively listed for 90 days without accepting any offers to prove that we try to get the most. And it seems pretty strict guideline that they go by, FHA loans. And so that could even mean, okay, 3 months of it listed. And then after that, so it could take a whole 5 months or so for that whole transaction.
Dan, you got your hand up there?
I do. Yeah. Angel actually asked my question, the timeline. So you said about 3 months, give or take. But obviously, like if we're thinking a home's going to be, possibly be a short sale situation, ahead of time, prior to listing, prior to securing a buyer contract and submitting that package, what would you say the timeline is total? Like, to like the point we identify that this is probably going to be a short sale candidate.
So the timeline for starting when we identify the short sale up until closing, or?
Exactly. Like, I think the timeline you gave was like, once you're on market, secure a, competitive offer, execute, then submit the offer package for approval to the lender or servicer. Like, but before we even get to that point, just like,
I say, let's say a good short sale would be a total of 3 months. So that's from the time that we get it listed. I collect documents from the seller, submit everything. We have the offer up until closing. And that's only if all parties involved are doing their part. So for example, if the bank needs something, if we can get it that day, we want to get it that day, because any day that's added, it just could add another week or month. It just depends, because the bank doesn't touch the files every day either. So, and my job is to keep everything moving along, pushing forward to hopefully make the 3 months.
Question on my side. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Okay, and a lot of these short sales are distressed, like they're in rough shape. So when we're comping those out, I'm just curious, like, as far as making a case to the lender that the home's as is value, current value, isn't necessarily reflected in what similar comps are selling for in the area. It's reflected more so in its current condition. Do lenders consider that, or like do they take condition into consideration, or do they just take more into consideration its market value?
They do take it into consideration, because they market value plus all the repairs needed. So it really would help if, let's say you have an offer. Is this with an offer?
This is, well, you could say with an offer, or this could be like, like say I go walk a property and I know, on its best day and its best condition, 2026 standard, it would sell for 300,000.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say that it's in terrible shape, and just everything's wrong with it cosmetically. I know that it can't meet their principal balance, whatever they might currently owe on it.
Mm-hmm.
How would, like in that case, would you suggest maybe getting a couple contractor quotes to submit over with the package? How do you make that case?
I would suggest to have as much info as you can to back up your offer. So if offer is like 100,000 less than what that market value is, you want to show the repairs at least to be around that much, because we can't just submit a low offer and then, not have proof of why that offer is that price and then expect the bank to accept it. So I would collect anything that I can, photos of damages, inspections, all of that, to back up the offer. And it really, and I actually think that distressed homes, that actually need repair are easier, or a little easier to get approved than a regular short sale that's in perfect condition. Because the perfect condition, they're going to continue trying to get that market value, and then there might be all these other homes in that same neighborhood with the same price, same condition. And that's what I'm seeing these days with short sales, is a lot of them are in good condition, but it makes it a little harder to negotiate because it's just sitting there on the market while the bank is expecting a certain amount.
Question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Danny.
One more question. And just in your experience, what's the most, like, what's the lowest, like, or I guess, what would you say is like the greatest loss you've seen the lender write off in a short sale?
Oh gosh. I really can't think of a number, but 300,000
Wow.
possible. And then, you know, some might have a second mortgage, a third mortgage, HOA lien, utility lien, a solar panel lien. That's what I'm seeing a lot these days. So yeah, there's a lot to it that ends up, it looks like the lien holder really gets nothing in the end. It sometimes ends like that.
So question on that note, if there's other liens, just because the bank says yes, the other lien holders still have a say-so in that, correct?
Correct. For example, there's a first mortgage and then there's a solar panel lien. The solar lien is the amount owed is 60,000. So the first mortgage, let's say they will only agree to pay 7,000 towards the solar lien. The solar lien, they have to accept it. If they don't accept it, it may foreclose, and then that's when they can also see that they probably should accept it if the house is gonna likely foreclose, and then they get $0. So I have to get all the lien holders to approve settling and losing money as well.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that we're explaining this correctly. If someone's in a short sale position, if it falls into foreclosure, well, what would a typical timeline be if the bank can't get it sold in a short sale? What would you say the normal timeline that they're going to flip it to a foreclosure would be? 6 months.
Let's say it's pretty far to where the bank won't accept it and it's just sitting there and it's just set to foreclose. It all depends on the bank, how hard they push to, and you're asking if there's already a foreclosure date set?
Well, I'm just saying, like, let's say that a seller is in a short sale process and the home is on the market for 6 months and it gets nothing. At that point, the bank would probably more than likely just flip it to a foreclosure, correct?
Possible.
When it goes to foreclosure, the first lien holder, which is normally the bank, is going to get whatever money they can get, and then everyone else, second lien holder down, is screwed, correct?
Correct.
So on the buy side, guys, I want y'all to understand this. I know we talk more on the listing side, but on the buy side, if you're going to be working with a buyer that wants to buy a short sale, this stuff is important to know because people ask all the time about short sales. What is a short sale? Well, how does it work? Right now, you know that Hien's fee would be charged to your buyer, right? So if you have a buyer, her fee, whatever that fee is, your buyer is going to have to pay whatever you negotiate on the sales price plus her fee. Plus potentially commissions, because we don't know if those commissions are going to be approved either, because it all depends on what the bank approved price is. Okay, so it's super important to know that. But there's a little bit of leverage there, because if there's more than one lien holder, which typically there are, those lien holders are going to want to try to get something, because if they don't get $1,000 here or $2,000 there, when it goes into foreclosure, they're going to get zero, because that primary lien holder, which is the bank, is going to get whatever they can get, and everyone else is screwed. Okay? So I want y'all to understand that. Alberto, you got a question?
Yes, I used to do short sales a long time ago when that was everybody doing short sale. And I think we have to have a package with the right verbiage, because every bank is different, every bank do it differently. And as you were saying right now, some of the banks might approve the short sale, but might not approve the full commission, or this will be different. So we have to put that on the contract. And as the beginning of the meeting, you said that is important what the contract says, so we avoid any any issue or any liability.
I would highly recommend, if you're on the buy side of a short sale, to put in the additional terms that your due diligence period, your inspection period, does not start until you get a bank approved price. Because what that means is if you don't do that, your buyers may do their inspections and they paid all this money, and then the price doesn't get approved anyway, and the deal dies, and your buyers paid $2,000 in inspections, they're never getting back, right? So I would strongly suggest that if you're on the buy side of the short sale, put in the additional terms that the due diligence period does not start until we get a bank approved price. It's going to help your buyers on that note.
I don't remember who it was recently in the last week or two, but I've started also having you guys put that the deposit isn't due and
Yep, you can do that too.
approved price. And there is a short sale writer that helps outline some of that verbiage to build it into your contract. But if you guys are working on one as a buyer's agent, just call me or Matt
Yeah.
or Sam.
Please call one of us before you do anything, because what we don't want to do is put your buyer in a position to where maybe their escrow is held up for 6 months and they don't even have enough liquid funds to go try to put on another house because they're tired of waiting on this one, right? So it would just help everybody involved to call Sam, Angel, myself, or Caitlin before you do anything dealing with a short sale, especially on the buy side, because the buyer is the one that's going to incur a lot of these fees, more so than the seller.
I have a question, and forgive me if you've answered this and I missed it. As a buyer's agent, we've seen short sales where there are the additional fees. Can your fee be mortgaged in and included in the overall purchase price, or is it cash out of pocket at closing that the buyer is going to have to pay? Because that has hindered some buyers from moving forward.
It has always been from the buyer directly through closing. I guess it depends on the buyer's lender.
Probably,
Depends on what the house appraises for, probably
right,
too.
depends on appraisal as well. So just keep that in mind when you're working on.
I think what's important to know is, like, typically the short sale, there's some value there. So if you're spinning it around as a buyer's agent, the value is that you're getting it under market value and that you may be able to save yourself thousands of dollars versus a $3,000 fee, right? So I think it's all about perspective when you're presenting it to the buyer.
It's just the problem with a lot of those buyers, Angel, don't have two nickels to rub together. So they need to understand that they might be coming out of pocket a significant amount of money that they might not already have in the first place. So yes, they may save $10,000 on the sales price, but they're coming out of pocket $10,000 more. So that's the mindset that you need to prepare them for, that we can go after these. And yes, you may get a deal, but that deal may cost you more money out of pocket on the front end. So if you don't have the funds to begin with, then we're still in a good enough market to where you might think can negotiate more closing costs from a seller that needs to sell their house that's not in short sale over a bank short sale that isn't going to necessarily negotiate with you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to take away from this time is this is a tool for you guys as agents to have better conversations and be a better resource for your clients. I don't see it as much on the buying side as a benefit. So again, I think it's just as we approach more and more buyers that bought 23, 24, we're seeing, hey, the margins are super thin. They don't have a lot of money. This is the perfect, opportunity for them to get out and then to potentially get a new house. So if they're not behind their payments and if it's just tight or they're just a little bit short, and Hien can answer this better, there may be an opportunity for them not to have credit impacted as much and to be able to become a buyer for you as well. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that this is more about the listing side, I think.
Right, yes. I mean, it helps the buying side in the sense that I'm there to help, move things along and making sure everyone gets to closing. So I guess that's how it benefits the buyer side. So it just benefits all parties.
Well, overall, it's just good knowing this stuff. The more that you know about different things like this and can explain to your client, buyer or seller, regardless, it makes you look just a more solid and well-rounded agent, and they're going to trust you a lot more, because they may call 10 agents that can't talk anything about this stuff, right? We're learning from a professional on something that a lot of people have no idea how it even works. So on the list side, a lot of people right now that bought new construction, especially in the peak market, are getting assessed with new taxes, and those CDDs have hit. Their payment might have went up $600 a month, right? So these are the prime candidates that we're running into that have zero equity. Their payment went up $500-600 a month because of the tax assessments, and they're in a bad spot. So these are the perfect clients that Hien can potentially help on the listing side.
Yes, and I really can help you get listings. Sometimes you talk to a homeowner and then you're just, just getting the feel of everything, but it sounds like it would be a short sell. After talking to you, the agent, I would then talk, you might have a list of questions that you may want to ask the seller to find out more. But after that, I can have a phone call with them, or we can three-way call, and they can ask all the questions. And I can explain the process, let them know what to expect, and then they feel more comfortable moving forward, which then they would, want to move forward with the listing.
Yeah, I've got a question. But I haven't heard you say, and I'm dealing with two of these right now, and to me, it's just a bunch of stories. The fact of the matter is, when I'm on the buying side, but let's talk about the listing side. Don't you have to tell the seller that there's a high probability that the bank's going to say no?
To approving the short sale?
Yes.
I say no, because I don't run into too many, as long as everyone's doing their part, that they would just deny them. There could be maybe because they're not past due enough, so they may wait another month or two, and then from there the bank will review them. But usually they don't just flat out deny.
But you say they want more money than the offer that was presented.
Okay, so you're saying that the bank wants more than what your offer is, that your offer? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the bank wants much more than what the offer is. So did the bank order an appraisal?
No.
No. Oh.
I'm just throwing on market value.
That you know of. So it could be a listing agent may not be using some like her or know what's going on. They just do it on short sale and not communicating with the bank.
Yeah, because something should always be going on, and that's what I hear a lot about short sales. No one knows what's going on. Sometimes it's just sitting there.
Yeah, the listing agent saying the bank doesn't even know it's going to be a short sale. This is my point. So they're doing a contract, signing it up just to present it to the bank.
And it is listed as a short sale or not?
Yeah, it's short sale, yes.
Okay. So I think somewhere there something could be done to move forward, because eventually the bank will order an appraisal and then they go off of that value. But then it depends on, okay, like for example, FHA loan. I'm seeing that the bank orders an appraisal and they would their guidelines, they need to net 88% of that value. And that's what they're going to accept. And that's the net number that they have in mind. So then we kind of play with the numbers and we figure out what that offer needs to be for the bank to net that much.
Now,
But-
I have the real question that just came to me is that, so if we're doing a short sale and we're using your services, are you contacting the bank and informing the bank that we want to do a short sale? Are we asking for permission before we list the short sale?
Okay, so let's say we don't know if it's a short sale or not. The first thing I always suggest is for the seller to complete my third-party authorization form. From there, I submit that to the bank that says I have permission from the seller to call on their loan. And then from there, I will figure out what their process is. You know, I might find out that they have to be delinquent for a certain amount of time or something. Some banks will not even start any review process until they have an offer. So,
Right, that's where I'm at. We did an offer and then it told me that now the bank wants to have the seller remodify. So they're gonna take another month to review and decide whether or not they're gonna do a short sale.
okay. So it sounds like part of their process is the seller, let's say, is listed as a short sale. Yes, and that should start. But the seller sometimes has to go through mortgage assistance, like a mortgage assistance application. So it would be a loan modification process that they would have to pretty much apply for and get denied for to then be reviewed for the short sale. So I think that's what you're talking about, that the seller needs to go through that process. And I don't know if they've started it, but that needs to start. And once they're denied for that loan modification, or they reject it because they say they can't, you know, make the payments, then the bank will then close out that status, loan modification, and then put them into short sale review, possibly.
So we have your phone number. We can call you personally to discuss issues and things of that sort.
Yes. Mhm.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
Angel sent it in.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any more questions? Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I don't know if I'm supposed to see everyone, but I don't even see anyone this after my presentation. I've been just talking, but thank you for your time, and I'm here if you have any questions or want to go over a possible listing.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I shared your information in our group chat, so everyone has your contact information. And would you be so kind to share the presentation with me, and I'll make sure I'll continue to train new agents and make sure you're in front of them.
Sure, I can do that. Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thanks, Angel. Bye, everyone. Have a good day.
All right. Everybody else don't have anything? Does anyone have anything coming up for the team?
Everybody.
Questions, concerns?
Everybody good? All right. Well, y'all have a great day.
David.
See you guys.
Thank you.
We prepare